Why be the norm? Be different. Why fall victim of the norm? And I have that tatted on me. Why? I mean, why be normal? Why be the same person that walks in the center of the crowd, walking down the street, everyone's the same? Stand out. Be your own crowd. Be your own self. Be different. Name is Brody Savaston. No regrets. Magnolia, Texas. Well, pretty much, gotta say what started it. I probably gotta say is my ex-stepdad and my ex-stepbrother. Just like I said, working in the yard, working on cars, always getting my hands dirty. I was really never inside. If I was told to get outside, and you can't come back in until the streetlights turn on. And I mean, I lived out in the middle of nowhere, and I lived out in Cut and Shoot, Conroe, Texas. Cut and Shoot. And I went to school in Grossville. Like, doesn't get any worse. So it's definitely a lot different now there. But back then, I mean, it was the closest store. We had a little, 1 mile away was a little like gas station grocery store. But other than that, it was 35, 40 minutes to the closest Walmart. So you're in the middle of nowhere. But I loved it. And I guess that's where I'm at today. I like the country. But at the same time, I don't like being 30, 45 minutes from a store. But where I'm at, I'm still close. My stepbrother at the time was getting older, and he got into he had a 4Runner, Toyota 4Runner. Before that, a Toyota pickup, but I was too young at the time. But when it got to the Toyota 4Runner, it was lifted, but we built speaker boxes in it, and that's where I started doing the customization and started getting into the wanting to be a custom vehicle, and I really loved the look and just being different. And I didn't like pulling up to a gas station. Or at the time, should I say, riding with the car, pulling up to the gas station and look to the right or left, and it's the same thing. And I wanted to be different and stand out. But I went to the local Walmart that we were at the time, and we were looking at some magazines, and it's actually, that I remember to my knowledge, it was the Truckin Magazine that had the West Coast Customs Cadillac, I think it was like purple, Cadillac Escalade with the ghosted West Coast Custom logos all over it. And to my knowledge, that was the one that started it for me. What was my first vehicle? It was a 1978 F-250. Single cab, long bed. Now remember, I was from the country, so I had glass packs, I had all that. A guy that I would see every now and then on the road, and it was my Suburban, actually, the hood behind me. And I was in my custom vehicle at the time, my little single cab Chevy step-side OBS. Slammed on 20s. It wasn't bagged, but it was like tucking tire pretty much. And I'd always be behind him. And I'd be coming home and he'd be 2 or 3 cars in front of me. We'd always end up somewhere next to him behind me or me behind him. It was Chris from Chaotic who owned it at the time. One day he stopped at a gas station and he never stopped. We'd always take a Y, and I'd go left, he'd go right. And one day he stopped at that gas station and I just had to pull in. And so I sat there and talked to him, and my curiosity, and I always ask everybody, so, is it for sale? And of course, word of mouth, told me the price. So then I got home, talked to my mom, and talked to one of her friends and one of our hot rod friends, and he's like, well, let's go look at it. So we met up with Chris and drove it around town, everything was good, and I was like, I really want it. And my mom approved, and yes, I had to ask my mom. So then I called Chris up. I have the cash. My truck's sold. Do what? Like, yeah, I sold my truck. I want to buy the Suburban. So it literally went from there. And then we met up that weekend and took it all. And then I owned a bagged and body drop on 22 Suburban. That was like iconic in the day. And it was time to make it my own. It was time to, now at the time, I was young, first bagged vehicle, bagged body drop, fully custom inside and out. I probably shouldn't have went the route that I did, but I went full on. I was like, let's strip it, let's do everything, change everything, let's do it. Well, at the time, my first stage was I stripped the whole paint off the side. I left the roof. I wanted the roof and the hood, which is behind me, so I had bought another hood to where we can strip it, and we primed the whole thing other than the roof so people could realize, hey, this is that Suburban. And I mean, you could also tell it had the 59 Cadillac taillights and all that too, but I was like, I want to leave the roof. So we stripped everything, painted it like a primer blue. And I drove it for, 6 months, 8 months, to maybe to a year, like that. So I had a friend of mine which is a member. He had a shop, pulled the cab, pulled the motor, pulled all the wiring, took it all, like literally bare metal, bare everything. We had some complications. 3.5, 4.5 years later, it was still the same. So I ended up losing interest. I'm not showing videos or photos of it, but it is. I ended up, when I took it from the shop, I took it to Market Slaughterhouse. We rebagged it, reback-halved it, put all new bags, valves, compressors, tank, everything on it, and put the cab back on the chassis and made it a roller. And it's hard to get the interest back in some things when you lose so much interest because of the time. And then not only that, the money. Because you look at things, you're like, man, I can go buy this for this much and fully done cover truck. And you go, I put that into that and it doesn't even drive. I don't want to get rid of it. I don't want to ever sell it. I don't want to ever burn it or whatever. I mean, I've one day thought, like, I think it was like 2 years ago, I almost sold it to a real good close club member, but I was like, no, I can't do it. So I don't care if it sits in a storage container, or I don't care if it sits on top of the container or in this garage. I don't care. One day, I think it's gonna be hashtag one day is what I'm gonna call it, because it took so long. I petitioned in 2007 by the actual founder of No Regrets, Ernie, in Louisiana at the Cashada at Gator Drag. And it was a crazy trip. Ernie flies in to Texas, to Houston. We go pick him up in the Suburban. And I had holes in the floor at the time. And just the exhaust fumes, you had exhaust fumes. So we're driving all the way to Louisiana in a Suburban with exhaust fumes, with Low Life Mike at the time too. It was Ernie and Low Life Mike and TJ. So we're driving all the way there at the random stops to get rid of the fumes and getting high off fumes. And of course we're in Louisiana, so we find crawfish and stuff like that walking around the yard. And there's a photo, I'd have to try to find it to show you. There's a photo of Low Life Mike trying to eat a crawfish while it's walking. And it was fun times. And like I said, I went to that show and it was an awesome time, and I got petitioned. And a year later, I had got logoed at the same show, but they had moved it to Conroe, actually where LST is at the moment. And that's probably my most memorable show due to the fact that's when I got logoed. And like I said, that was 2008 when I got logoed. So I mean, I've been in the club 11 years, but I've been with the club for 13 because like I said, I got introduced to them in 2006. So for me, I can't have something factory. I can't pull up, like I said earlier, I can't pull up in an intersection, see the same thing next to me, left or right, and be the same. I gotta stand out. I gotta be different. I gotta make my own crowd. I don't know. I just gotta be, hate to say it, center of attention. I don't know. Is it a show-off thing? Is it an attention? Is it just because I really enjoy it? I really enjoy just having something custom. I mean, that's literally where all my pockets go to, are my vehicles, and maybe a house every now and then. But yes, I gotta say it's an addiction. To me, I admitted it. So addiction, you're not addicted until you admit it. I admit it. I'm addicted. But why cure it? It's an awesome addiction. Why be the norm? Be different. Why fall victim of the norm? And I have that tatted on me. Why? I mean, why be normal? Why be the same person that walks in the center of the crowd, walking down the street, everyone's the same? You're being part of the norm. And stand out. Be your own crowd. Be your own self. Be different. Do I think I'll ever own anything stock? I thought I'd say yes to that until that. And I had it for 5 years. It was my grandpa's. I grew up, every time I go to Florida and visit my grandpa, he had the Roadmasters. He always had a Roadmaster with the wood grain, Buick, fully loaded, always had one. And to my knowledge, what I remember, he's always had one in my life. So when he passed away, I inherited a wagon, and I had it for 5 years, and I put 100,000 miles on it. And I drove the piss out of it everywhere. Now, I drove it good and well, but I drove it everywhere. And I had worked in Louisiana at the time, so it was 8 hours every 7 days. And it was 530 miles one way. So I got it with just right around 100,000 miles, and it's right at 200,000 right now. So owned it for 5 years, and I was like, all right, I think it's time to finally bag it. Well, a good friend of mine, Mark at Slaughterhouse of Tomball, he has an Impala, and he's like, hey man, I'm bagging my Impala. I can easily make a kit, and I can make one for yours right now, to where we can get everything, start getting ready for when you want to bag your car. And I'm like, hit me at the right time, because I had the money saved up and everything. I was like, man, all right, screw it, let's do it. I actually helped them make the kit for the rear, because we stretched the rear forelink 1 inch to center the rear wheels, because these have problems with the rear wheels being too far forward. So we made all that for the rear, centered the rear wheel, and because I didn't want to cut any of the car up. It was my grandpa's car, and I didn't want to tub it. I didn't want to cut up into the car. As of right now, I don't want to do that. But I wanted the old school feel. I wanted it's a wood grain wagon. I wanted the beach feel. I wanted the old school, just cruise down the block, cruise down the strip. So I went with the 20-inch American Racing vintage torque thrust, and to give me the vintage look. And then of course, had to throw a surfboard on top to throw in the whole feel. And it's kind of funny, but it goes with the looks, and you'll never know until I tell you, but I guess I'm telling you, so everyone's gonna know. But we were at lunch and went from one restaurant to the one right next door. It was a car wash. And we just jumped in the car, and I was going through the car wash, and I had forgot the radio was on. So my antenna is actually broken in half, and just sits and wiggles back and forth. And still works, but I was like, well, I kind of like the height of it. So I had found, because I remember back in the old days, the little antenna dudes. And I was like, I gotta have one. I think it's so cool, and it goes with the theme and everything. So went on Amazon and bought a few of them, just in case they didn't come up missing. And I was like, have to have it. And I think I love it, and I love the height of it. And it goes with the flow of the car. So it was like, I think a week and a half before Battle of Alabama, where I unveiled it to the world, other than Facebook world. I unveiled it at Car Show World, that I had bagged it and all that. And drove it all the way there. And of course, everyone loved it, and I loved it, and it rode amazing. And I forgot what driving a bag truck is like. I loved it. And of course, these cars already ride like a Cadillac. Literally, it's a grandpa car, because it was my grandpa's. So now it's I don't even know what you want to call it. A beach cruiser?
Except you're
in
nowhere
the country.
near the beach.
But I mean, it has flooded here 3 times. Now, not in this property, but it has flooded in Magnolia 3 times in the past like 2 years. So, hey, I got a surfboard, I got to get to work. So, yeah, I have a out of the ordinary house. It's a Barndominium. I call it a Garagedominium. The only horses that are here are in the garage under a hood. But like customizing this house and making it different, I wanted to build everything to a hot rod custom feel, old school Western industrial feel. So, but still at the same time, give it more of a country feel. So it's a lot of things into one, but you have to do little touches here and there that doesn't clash. So like in all my bathrooms, they have, or all the closets go to 8 foot. Well, everything else in the house goes to the ceiling. So when you walk in like my Jack and Jill bathroom, which is a bathroom that the 2 bedrooms share, they have if you turn around, that's where the closets were on the other side. So it has an 8 foot shelf. So up there, I have an old bike, and I did a bunch of old driftwood and everything next to it to give it the old, and like on the back wall, we did fencing and fence board. So to give it that Western industrial, like just old school feel. So then like that, and then like in my living room, I built the whole front half of a 28 sedan, and with the wheels, the white walls, everything, headlights, and they all turn on. I made the headlights work, everything. And they're actual, not little LEDs, they're the actual headlight bulbs that turn on. I found an old gas pump at a rat rod show in Austin, actually, Lone Star Roundup, and got all that up there. And I had put lights actually inside the gas pump. So I actually found an old Magnolia gasoline sign and for the gas pump, and it's the globe that goes on top of the gasoline pump that says Magnolia gasoline. I love this house. I love everything I've done to it and making it my own, but at the same being different and not just doing the ordinary. But like I said, you walk in my front door and It's something that will make you go ah and ooh over. And at the same time, you don't see this every day. Shout outs and who's helped me through life. My mom, for sure. Yes, I'm not afraid to admit it. TJ for introducing me into No Regrets. All the members, No Regrets members, Texas. They're family. I love them all. Mark from Slaughterhouse, he's helped me out a lot. I got to thank everybody. I mean, everyone in my life. I mean, everyone has a special part in my life. I mean, the people in the scene. I mean, I got to thank them. I mean, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have what we have today. Well, fellas, I think that's it. How about you like and subscribe? Action. But first, let me take a selfie. Actually, cut. Actually, I do have the horses in the back. In the backyard. They're my mom's horses, because she lives next door. Cut. I got my horses in there. I can't even do it. Extra, extra, read all about it. Cut. Swipe up.